Here today I am going to deliver a module 3, which is ratio analysis. This is also a part of analysis of financial statement. This is one of the method of analysis of financial statement. Here, which are the topics to be covered under this title, that is introduction and meaning of ratio analysis, interpretation of ratio analysis, usefulness of ratio analysis, limitations, classification. As such, the classification is broadly divided into a two-part, that is traditional classification and functional classification. Under that, probability ratio, profitability ratio, turnover ratio, liquidity ratio, ownership ratio, and the classifications by users. Let's begin with the first topic, introduction and meaning. What is ratio analysis? It is one of the methods of measuring of financial performance. It means the financial performance has to be measured by some parameters, and the parameters are actually based on some techniques. So the ratio analysis is one of the technique where the some parameters has been designed, and on the basis of the parameters, this particular technique would be helpful to analysis of a managerial skills. The ratios are used as a benchmark to evaluate the financial conditions and performance of the business. It means this is one of the benchmark that which can be evaluated your financial positions as well as the condition. Now, the financial condition has to be observed by the certain tools. These tools has been observed and giving us some ideas regarding what is your financial conditions, where you stand, how you can improve, what type of things to be made for the improvisations. So according to the requirement and observation of your condition, the performance for betterment can be designed from this particular tool. The relation of one item to another item expressed in a simple mathematical form, it is called ratio. So ultimately it's a mathematical tool which will be compared with the two different variables, and the two different variables has to be observed and analyzed in such a way that express for a particular consideration. Here a company keep fit by ensuring that the strong other than things or the consideration among the things, its various financial corporations are kept healthy competitions and the healthy parameters. Here, the ratio is a quotient of two numbers. It means the two variables or two important numbers are required for ratio analysis. It must be interpreted against some standard. So that means there are some standards, there are some formulas, there are some bases, and it is actually explained for that standard. In assigning the financial ability of a firm, a management should, apart from profitability, be interested in a relative figure rather than the absolute figure. That means whatever the figures are available, that has to be analyzed, and then according to the analysis, they wanted to check not only profitability but also how the management is overall work, how the business is run actually overall and as a whole, that they wanted to check. And that is why it is concerned not only for a relative figure but it's concerned with the absolute figure. In fact, an analysis of financial statement is possible only when the figures are expressed in percentage or ratios. That means the analysis of ratio can be expressed in a various format, maybe in the proportion, maybe in the percentage, in the ratios, in a standard, in a turnover, in a number of times. It may be possible. A ratio is a mathematical relations between the two quantities. So the two different quantities, two different variables, two statistical data has been analyzed and giving an answer, that is your ratio. There is a growing body of evidence that ratio can be directly helpful as a basis for marketing predictions. Fine. Why it is relevant with the marketing predictions? Because of the certain period of time, maybe the amount of information which you have in your hand that may not be enough to take a future decisions, or maybe a marketable decisions. Ratio analysis would be helpful to understand what are the steps and how the market can be improved through the particular steps and policies. To evaluate the financial condition and the purpose of a firm, the financial analysis needs certain yardsticks. That means the particular steps and add the informations, find the some analysis for the requirement of some standards, and that standards would be provided by the ratio analysis. Not only are those who manage a company, but also its shareholders and creditors interested in knowing about the financial position and or earning capacity of the business or an organization. So this is all about a part of a ratio concept. Here there are four main ways to analyze the ratio. Way number one, trend analysis. The trend analysis is all about providing a trend. So it means the trend analysis requires a certain number of periods of data, and according to the periods of data which you analyze, and it shows a trend whether it's an increasing or a decreasing, or maybe you are in a stagnant situation. So under this method, an individual ratio or a group of related ratios are computed over a period of time. The significant trends such as increasing, decreasing or constant are considered for reaching conclusions. That means, as I already mentioned, there are three possibilities. Maybe the trend is going upwards, maybe trend is going downwards, or maybe trend is in stagnant situation. So any of the situation which you provided and the information where you can at least find out some amount of conclusions out of it. So sometimes the average of the ratio calculated for a number of years are used and carrying out of the analysis. So how many number of ratios you calculated, how many number of years ratios are calculated, what type of things you wanted to know, and according to that information you may be reaching to the certain part of informations. Second part is comparative analysis. So one is trend analysis, this is comparative analysis. This comparative analysis is all about the comparisons of the certain informations. So this approach shows that the ratio of one firm, one institutions, one organizations compared with another firm, another institutions, another organizations, ratios only. So the comparisons of this may be only possible in the same industry or in the same segment or in the same sector. Why it has happened like that? Because of the whatever the ratios you find out of the one company, if it is to be compared with the same type of company, then and then you maybe actually find out some conclusions, or maybe you can design some policies. But suppose if the company is different, their manufacturing is concerned is different. One may be a manufacturing company, other may be a service sector company. Then their ratios may not be same, their standards also may not be same, and their comparisons, conclusions also may not be helpful for an improvisation. So first priority is when you are going for a comparative analysis, there should be a same type of company. Such inter-firm comparisons may be as significant as some of other firms considered for a comparison may be experiencing the same or similar financial problems. So in that case, the similar possibilities are there, similar problems are there, and according to the comparisons, you may be identified the same situations and find out the solution for that type of queries. Generally, selected significant ratios are calculated and published by trade associates or credit rating of a financial institutions in the form of tables. So the tables has to be designed, and on the basis of tables the information has been disclosed, and that information would be helpful according to the requirement. Third is individual analysis. An individual ratio itself may be significant of its own. It means the ratios are find out only for the particular company or requirement of the particular ratio. So for an example, a persistent fall in the net profit to sales ratio may indicate inefficiency or waste in the organization. So that means The profitability ratio, that we find out the net profit ratio on the basis of a net profit compared with the sales. So what would be the outcome? The outcome was your net profitability margin, which shows that how much inefficiency due to the inefficiency or maybe a certain other wastage of reasons, your business may not be reaching to the particular standard, may not be achieve your target and your goal. So normally they are to be studied with a reference to some standards. Some standards, which standards has been designed? Who is going to design the standards? The standard has been designed on the basis of certain principles, or maybe the sector or maybe the industry has been actually identified the standard, the such amount of profitability ratio has to be achieved in case of this particular type of company. However, these standards are mostly approximate. That means it is not perfect, it's not a fixed standard, it is an approximate. So if any industry or any company is reaching very close to that approximation, that would be also a good information, and that would be also helpful to understand a future planning. So the approximation, the conclusion derived from the deviations of actual ratios from them may be misleading. So if you are going to have a certain information which you don't carry along with these informations, it might be not helpful to you. Moving to the next, the fourth type, that is a group of ratio analysis. Here in the group of ratio analysis, when studied individually, it may be different to compare the significance of a certain ratio fully, but in other cases or in such cases, the analysis could be made more meaningful by computing some of the additional related ratios. The next is fourth is group of ratio analysis. Group of ratio analysis, it means if any particular ratios you find out and that ratio may be not giving a perfect impact, or maybe you need to identify whether that impact or that answer would not be enough for taking a further decision, then you maybe find out other same type of ratio for getting and more detailed information. So that is what all about the group of ratio analysis. Like when studied individually, it may be different to comprehend the significance of certain ratios fully. In such cases, the analysis could be made more meaningful by computing some of the additional related ratios. A change in one ratio may have a significant only when viewed in relation to other ratios. So it means the change you maybe find out from the one significance, but you need to identify that if you are going to compare the same thing with the other items or with the other informations, it would be impacted, it would be find out the some reasons. If not, then there would be some errors. So for an example, the significance of the profit ratio could be made clear by calculating a certain ratios like a return on capital employed and return on equity shareholders. So in that case, you maybe find out what was the difference in case of amount of return on capital employed as well as a shareholders fund. Ultimately both are profitability ratio, but you would be getting a different idea. Moving to the next point, that is ratio analysis. The term ratio basically means an expression of one article or an item with another in the same mathematical form. In that sense, you need two different idea, two different information, two different items which are actually having in the same mathematical format. Most important thing is here that the figures which are used should be connected in some manner. That if it is not connected, then this tool may not be useful as well as helpful. No purpose will be served in case of comparing two sets of variables which are not at all connected with each other. So, however, or you can consider in that sense of ratios are mostly expressed in terms of either time, percentage, turnover, number of times, and in the form of proportion. For an example, in case of measuring the turnover of stock throughout the year, We always measure the same in terms of number of times of the stock rolls on a 1 year. Say an instance, the stock in replenished on a monthly basis. In that case, if it is replenished on a monthly basis, then how many times turnover possible in a year? Very simple, it would be make a turnover in a 12 times in a year, because of it is always replenished in the monthly basis, so that there are 12 months and it would be considered as a 12 times. Now moving to the next topic, that is usefulness of ratio analysis. Few observations regarding the ratio analysis would be useful for management and organizations. It means that the ratio analysis is a tool which would be helpful to the management and organizations in many ways. According to the understanding, if the ratios is one of the best tool, then the financial statement has to be understood in such a way that the ratio can be helpful to take a future path, improvisations, and find out the better ideas from out of it and can be implemented for the future considerations. Well, let's start with this first usefulness, that is analyzing a financial statement. Analyzing a financial statement in many ways. And in that sense, we need to identify that whatever the informations you have, whatever the informations are actually revealed from the financial accounting has to be understood, applied in the ratio analytical tool, and from out of that tool, we need to find out some meaningful conclusions. And that meaningful conclusions would be helpful for the improvisation of the business. It helps in measuring various aspects of the working enterprises with the many particular part of requirement. One may be operational ability, that through the operational ability we can identify whether the business has been having enough amount of operational efficiency, their employees are supportive to increase their operational efficiency. So this can be compared and this to be identified from the analysis of ratio. Earning capacity, that means the various part of a profitability ratios would be helpful to analyze the profitability scan, and then the amount of earning capacity which would be enough as per the standard or as per the industrial sector ratio. Expenses, the expenses are actually can be controlled, or if it can be controlled, in which way that can be controlled to improve your profitability as well as the quality mark. Thus, the management can take accurate decisions against the respective task. So that means at the time of taking a decision for the particular task, the ratio analytical tool would be very much helpful. Moving to the next usefulness, that is a scanning device. It means the ratio analysis is ultimately a scan of the particular informations. Why it is a scanning device? The scanning device's main object is what? Ultimately, whatever the informations you have, that will be scanned and identified the loopholes, benefits, ideas, and other things from that particular informations. The same thing the ratio analysis is doing. This tool of financial analysis enables the users of financial information to understand the financial positions of a business with respect to its short-term solvency ratio, long-term solvency ratio, their earning capacities, their turnover capacities, their capital structure design, etc., which the financial statement do not by themselves reveal. So that means the financial statement directly cannot be reveal certain informations. If I want to know how much amount of profitability capacity or carrying by the company against their investments could be identified from the financial statements? No. Why? Because of the financial statements disclose only two informations: how much capital is having by the company, it is to be disclosed by the balance sheet, or how much profitability is having by the business, it will be disclosed by the revenue statements. But if I want to know further steps of analysis, then I need to compare both this data and find out the outcome, the how much amount of earning capacity is held by the company against their investments. So it is not directly revealed, it will be revealed through the usefulness of the tool. So ratio is very much useful in this way. It is true that this technique makes use of the same figures as disclosed by the statement. So whatever the information has been disclosed by the statement, this tool will be used the same amount of data. This notwithstanding, it tells us something more and more clearly also, that what the statements tell us. So that means that whatever the statement has been disclosed, the same thing would be disclosed by the ratio analysis. Moving to the next point, that is a simplification of data. Ratio analysis typically synchronize the data and makes available the huge accumulated data in simple numerals. In that sense, whatever the data has been actually analyzed by the ratio, that data has been converted from the amount of data which are actually available in a large scale. So why it is actually a simplification? Because of the many times the data is available in thousands, lakhs and crores, but that data may not be understood easily by any layman. So here the ratio analysis, through this tool, this data has been converted in very simple manner or in very small denomination, and on the basis of that small denominations, analysis can be done. This reduces the complexity and gives a clear picture regarding the pattern of the data. So you would be identified the pattern of the data. Why? Here maybe suppose the lakhs of the data has been given. Then from that data you may be understood that all the data has been given in the lakhs of rupees only, but it's very huge. Suppose if it will be converted into small figures, then you can easily compare and the pattern has been analyzed. The trend can be identified. So through the simplification of data enables the management to draw the accurate findings and helps in generating the conclusions. So here the simplification of data would be helpful, the findings and conclusions. Moving to the next, usefulness, that is helps in disclosing operational efficiency. Operational efficiency has to be determined from the observation of the various ratio designed for only operational considerations. Fine, like the amount of operating profitability, then the consideration of operating expense ratios, right? The amount of the ratios on the basis of turnover ratios, that is also to be identified. How much amount of turnover you find out, the goods turnover ratio, capital turnover ratio. So these are the basic ratios to identify the operational efficiency. It is an excellent tool to identify the reasons of operational inefficiency with the reason through a set of ratios. Consequently, the relative corrective actions can be taken by observing the current and past trends of the same variable. So as per the comparison of the two variables, current and past, we can identify where the actually drawbacks and operational efficiency can be improved. Moving to the next, that is benchmark for comparison. Fine. Ultimately, the comparisons can be possible if the old past data also has been analyzed. Ratio analysis is one of the tools where you can compare and fix a certain standards of the company, standard of the industry, standard with some other companies. So you can identify the standards and put your benchmark for the comparisons. So ratio analysis, apart from providing the analysis only, it is given an interpretation also and provides or helps in establishing a certain standards in the various fields. Like in a profitability, you can design your standard, what amount of gross profit has to be derived from it, what amount of net profit you have to maintain it, how much amount of return on capital employed has to be there. These standards can be designed. How much turnover has to be there. That means suppose the capital goods turnover ratio, maybe you have 3 times or 4 times, and the same type of other companies may be having a goods turnover ratio maybe 7 or 8 times. So in that way you can design your standard according to your capacity, according to your strength, and then according to that standard or a benchmark you compare your data with that. So by establishing the benchmark, the firm can take corrective steps to match with the standards already set and avoid deviations. So whatever the standard has been set, you can compare your practical present positions and you find out the whatever the plus and minus of your presence. The standards are set keeping in view the optimal viability of the farm. That means if you want to get an optimum utilizations and optimum and maximum capacity you want to earn, then you have to design your standard, benchmark and compare with that. So in that sense, an overall industrial trend in the particular activity. So benchmark is actually benefited in that way. Planning, very important. Ratio analysis is one of the best tool for planning for future. One, the planning for your profitability, planning for your cost control analysis, planning for your capital structure design, planning for efficiency, not only for the